we understand, how do we use the principles of the science of learning to really create axes of innovation, right? To create these processes that we can use to design our education innovations around. And so we're incredibly excited about doing this. We're building kind of the field of learning engineering, and so starting to define it, and I'd love to, in our conversations afterwards, love to hear your thoughts around what this might look like. At first blush, what we're talking about is that a learning engineer really takes the research, makes it useful. So it's something you can use in the classroom, right? But then also, truly, that it needs to, again, close that loop, be that bidirectional dialogue where it allows the researchers to hear from the educators to help us ask better questions. Because we're asking the questions that we think are interesting, but I cannot tell you how many of my fellow scientists have never stepped foot in a classroom outside of their kids' classroom or outside of when they were in school, right? And so to be studying how the brain learns without actually seeing how the brain learns in context, we call that the situated brain, is something where we really need to hear from you. Okay, so what would a learning engineer do? There are a couple of things that a learning engineer would do, and this is, again, at very high level. We can dive into the specifics in the Q&A session. But the very first thing, the very fundamental thing, is that a learning engineer really builds research practice partnerships. And what I mean by that is that they provide the processes, the engineering processes, so a lot of that is user-centered design or design thinking, right? So having the human, the student, at the center of designing these prototypes and processes. And then really providing platforms to, again, create this co-creative conversation between researchers and practitioners. So to build a research practice partnership, it needs to have some infrastructure. It needs to have some processes to advance the conversation. It also needs to have some platforms to do something about it. So that's what we think where the learning engineering discipline can come in really handy.